Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of geopolitics and economics. Buckle up, because we're talking about China's debt trap diplomacy. Now, this isn't just some dry economic theory. This is about countries finding themselves in a financial chokehold, with China holding the other end of the noose. We'll be looking at how this strategy works, why it's so controversial, and most importantly, the impact it's having on nations around the globe. All right, let's start with Sri Lanka, a beautiful island nation off the coast of India. Now, Sri Lanka had big dreams, and one of those dreams was the Hambantota port. They envisioned it as a bustling economic hub, a gateway to prosperity. But there was a problem. They didn't have the cash to build it. Enter China, like a loan shark, with a very attractive PowerPoint presentation. They offered billions in loans, and Sri Lanka, eager to get their project off the ground, took the bait. The problem was, this port. Not exactly in the most strategic location. It was like building a luxury resort in the middle of the desert. Ambitious, sure, but not exactly a recipe for financial success. The revenues simply weren't there. Sri Lanka found itself drowning in debt, unable to repay China. And what happens when you can't pay the piper? China, in a move that surprised absolutely no one paying attention, swooped in and said, "Well, how about a 99-year lease on that port of yours?" Sri Lanka, backed into a corner, had no choice but to agree. Just like that, China got its hands on a strategically important asset, right in India's backyard. This, my friends, is debt trap diplomacy in action. Next, let's head over to Pakistan, China's all-weather friend. Now, the cornerstone of this friendship? The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC. It's a massive infrastructure project with roads, railways, pipelines, the works. China is pouring in billions, and on the surface, it seems like a win-win, right? Well, not so fast. See, Pakistan is taking on a mountain of debt to fund these projects. We're talking tens of billions of dollars. Now, Pakistan insists they'll be able to pay it all back, but there's a reason why economists are hitting the panic button. The interest rates on these Chinese loans, let's just say they're not exactly what you'd call generous. There's a very real fear that Pakistan is falling into a debt trap, becoming financially beholden to China. And when you owe someone that much money, it gives them leverage. Suddenly, you're not just asking your all-weather friend for an umbrella, you're asking them if you're allowed to leave the house. Chapter 3. Now, let's talk about Djibouti, a tiny nation with a strategically important location at the mouth of the Red Sea. It's like the world's busiest shipping lane decided to have a backyard barbecue, and Djibouti is right in the middle of it. China, seeing an opportunity, showered Djibouti with loans for infrastructure projects, ports, you name it. But here's the kicker. Djibouti now owes China more than 70% of its external debt. Let that sink in for a moment. 70%. That's like going out for a casual dinner and ending up with your dining companion owning your house. There's a very real concern that Djibouti, with its newfound debt burden, could lose control of its strategic assets. And it's not just economic leverage that China's gaining. They've also established their first overseas military base in Djibouti. Coincidence? I think not. Chapter 4. Finally, let's look at Zambia, a country grappling with a severe debt crisis. China, once again, has been a generous lender, bankrolling infrastructure projects across the country. But this generosity comes at a price, and Zambia is finding that out the hard way. They're struggling to repay their debts, and there are fears that they might have to hand over control of key assets to China as collateral. Imagine having to hand over your airport because you couldn't pay back a loan. That's the reality Zambia is staring down the barrel of. This has sparked political turmoil in Zambia, with accusations of corruption and unsustainable borrowing practices. It's a cautionary tale of what can happen when a country becomes too reliant on a single, powerful creditor. So, there you have it. a glimpse into the world of China's debt trap diplomacy. It's a complex issue with far-reaching consequences. Now, China will argue that they're just trying to help these developing nations, that they're offering a helping hand. And sure, infrastructure projects can be beneficial, but when those projects come with strings attached, with crippling debt and the potential loss of sovereignty, it's hard not to see it as anything other than predatory lending. It's like going to a used car dealership where the salesman is also a loan shark, and the only car on the lot is a slightly used tank. Sure, it looks impressive, but you're going to be paying for it for a very, very long time, and there's a good chance you'll end up losing more than just your down payment. The bottom line is this: developing nations need to be wary of these too-good-to-be-true deals, because as we've seen, the price of friendship with China can be incredibly steep. Stay tuned for more such interesting content on our Value Investing channel. And if you like this content, do not forget to hit the like button. Happy investing!